Done. We are live on Facebook. So welcome everyone. We are waiting for 5 minutes and then we start. I see 5 people already online, 7. Daktari,
yes.
I want us to start. We have some numbers online. It's
Yes.
almost 12 and it's climbing. So we can just start because we have people who have kept time. Now,
Yes.
I want to introduce our trainer. His name is Dr. Nehemiah Mihindo. He's going to explain a little about himself and then we start. So, karibu sana, Daktari.
Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be with you today. As you have heard, my name is Dr. Nehemiah Mihindo, and I'm an entomologist, and I work for an organization called Effective IPM Association. We are based near Nairobi in Kenya, and I would like to welcome you for this sharing on integrated pest management. And I hope that it is going to be enjoyable. And I welcome any comments, any questions, and even sharing on experiences, because agriculture is quite diverse in different areas in Africa. And what we may be doing in Kenya may not apply in other parts of Africa. So that's why we are talking about integrated pest management principles and practices. And most of the ideas that we are going to give will be general and can be applied anywhere in any part of the world, because there are some guiding principles in integrated pest management. And I would like to start by saying that we know our Africa mainly depends on agriculture for food, and I would say that due to population pressure, we know that food has continually reduced in amount, and even in the qualities. This is despite the fact that most African countries rely on agriculture for their GDP drive, but we find ourselves in a situation where the poverty levels keep on increasing, and we also find ourselves having our land sizes being fragmented every day. One, to pave way for industrialization and also settlement. So the land and agriculture has kept on reducing each day. So we are saying that like in Kenya, most of the areas around Nairobi now are not under cultivation because they have agriculture has been overtaken by constructions. So we find that now the food has continually reduced. This one is important because the more you fragment the land, the less diverse in crop production, in animal production you practice. The other one thing that has really caused problems in agricultural production is pests. And you find that in many parts of, especially in Kenya, we are talking of 30% of the crops that we produce being destroyed by pests. You can imagine that out of 10 bags you produce of maize or beans that you produce, 3 are destroyed or are eaten by pests. So it is something that is calling for a lot of attention. The issue of pest management is very, very important. And therefore, it is important that we discuss this issue because we know that because of this pest menace, many governments are doing what they can to reduce or to eliminate the pests that are disturbing the farmers. And that is where now the issue of pesticides come in. We have seen that many governments are really trying. And even in their budgets, one of the budgets that the government, especially in Kenya, does is on the issue of pesticides. Just to make sure that that 30% gap is at least reduced. But has the government succeeded in this? The answer is no. Because new pests keep on emerging and the pest resistance keeps on disturbing us. So I can give a little talk about the history of agriculture in the world or in Africa. You know, we used to have what we used to call hunting and gathering. Then there was the domestication of crops. After the domestication, we had that period we call the agrarian revolution. And this is when the scientists of the world decided that they would overturn or turn around agriculture so that it would be able to feed the population of the world that was really increasing. So one of the things that was decided is that scientists should come up with the high-yielding varieties. And high-yielding varieties that would take less time to grow, and varieties that would also give a lot of yield. Because previously we used to have the local varieties that didn't have a lot of yield, and there was now the population pressure. So after that was agreed, these HYVs, as we call them, they came with their own problems because they were very weak. They were susceptible to pests, and they also required some special treatment. So the issue of the fertilizers came in, and the issues of pesticides came in. So we see the first pesticides being used, and the problem was like it was solved. But what we realized is that these pesticides also came with their own problems. We will all agree that the world now is crying because of overuse of pesticides, what we call the synthetic pesticides. We call them synthetic because these pesticides have been formulated in the laboratories, and they are compounds that as they break down, or before they break down, they cause a lot of harm to the environment. So the pesticides came in, and now we are talking about how to reduce the pesticides and replace them with more friendly, environmentally and health-friendly interventions. So we know that farmers in Africa, farmers in Kenya use a lot of pesticides. And I have done some survey, and I have seen that even before the farmers plan for the source of their seeds, what they first plan for is where they will get the pesticides. It is very serious because if a farmer A wants to plant Irish potatoes, she will first think where to get pesticides against the blight, pesticides against bacterial wilt, before she even knows where she will get her seeds. That is one problem that farmers have, and we know the effects of these pesticides. That one, they persist. Most of them persist in the environment for a long time, and they will, when they persist in the environment, they do a lot of harm to the organisms that are living there, including the humans. That is one. Two, pesticides are also very, very expensive. Like in Kenya here, farmers now are not able to buy these chemicals because of their cost. So they end up suffering damage by pests because they cannot afford the synthetic pesticides. Then once the pesticides get into the other systems, like the waterways, even the people who did not use those pesticides, but they are using that water, will also get affected. So if a farmer here uses a particular pesticide, that pesticide is not only going to harm that particular farmer, but it is going to be a chain. One, the farmer is going to be affected. The people who will be using the products, the pesticides that you get into the air or into the system will also harm other farmers. So it's a whole chain of effect because of one farmer who has used a particular pesticide. And that is why now the government, like in Kenya, we are talking about safe use of pesticides. People are being sensitized how to use pesticides safely. But how safe is safe? What is the extent of the safety that you can take so that you say that you are safe from getting contaminated with these pesticides? The problem with our farmers is that most of them are not literate. They are illiterate, and they cannot understand the language that is on the containers that are carrying these pesticides. So what they will do is that they will apply the pesticides, and once they find that their crops are growing well, they are adamant about the effects that those pesticides have. Those who know the effects of those pesticides will apply them on the crops that are supposed to be taken to the market. But they will have a corner, their own corner. They call it a kitchen garden, and the children and the family is directed to be getting their vegetables or their crops from there. So those ones are not sprayed, but the ones for the market are sprayed. We have witnessed farmers spraying crops in the morning and taking them to the market in the evening. So you find that even what we call the shelf life, the safe life of pesticides is not adhered to, because every pesticide has specifications on the amount of time that you are supposed to stay before you eat, after spraying, before you eat your crop. So farmers don't adhere to that. There are those that are also using pesticides that are very, very toxic. Every container has what we call the safety color. And we always say, if a farmer or the government has put it that all pesticides above the yellow color should be restricted. They should only be used under very special circumstances. But do farmers know that? Do farmers care? They want pesticides that have immediate knockdown effect on the pests. So they will go for very toxic pesticides, and they are happy when the pests die. But we need to tell these farmers that the way that pesticide kills the pest, the way a pesticide kills that caterpillar, it is the same way that it is going to kill the farmer, to kill him. It's only that we need a little more than the caterpillar, and it affects us. So it is important that we look at options that are environmentally friendly, options that will help our farmers to reduce or to stop using pesticides and replace them with more environmentally systems. So what we are going to learn today, and for those whom we have been together, we know that we are not going to look at a single system that will eliminate the pest. And I want to caution, even the people in the organic world, in the organic agriculture world, that let us not have that notion that our solution is to kill the pest. Because when God created nature, when God created everything had its purpose. And that is why we always say that there is balance of nature. If nature is not balanced, nature has its own way of retaliating. So if you remove one organism from from nature, you will get some problems as you move along. Let us try to live in harmony with the organisms that are in nature, but let us see how we can manipulate them so that they don't destroy what we are supposed to have as food. So we are going to use different methods that will manipulate the pests so that they don't attack our crops. So first, we want to ask ourselves, what is this pest? Because many people have been thinking that pests are only insects. I would say that a pest is not an insect. It's not just an insect, but an insect is an example of a pest. And I would say that I would describe a pest as any organism that interferes with the normal development of another. Any organism that interferes with the normal development of another organism through either causing physical injury or causing unfavorable conditions. Any organism that hinders the normal development of another. If, for instance, a cow interferes with the normal development of your maize by trampling on it so that it doesn't grow well. That is a pest to the maize. Or if it bites the maize and it doesn't grow well, then it becomes a pest. Some of the so we are saying that some of the pests will cause physical injury, and those are the ones that we call the predators. They'll feed on your crops. Then there are those that will cause unfavorable conditions, and the unfavorable conditions are the ones that we call diseases. So disease-causing organisms are also pests. So examples of pests are insects. We have insect pests. We have got bacteria. We have got virus. We have got fungi. We have got mammals. We have got mammals. We have got nematodes. We have got other vertebrates. So we have got weeds. So all those either feed on the crop or they cause unfavorable conditions, what we are calling diseases. So pests are not just insects, because many people think that pests are only diseases. So are we together, people?
Yes, we are, Daktari.
Thank you very much. You know, I may be talking to myself alone here.
Although I don't see the slides moving on my side, unfortunately.
Oh.
But I don't want you to stop because I know what that can cause.
Okay. Let's continue. So we have got bacteria, we have got virus, we have got fungi, we have got others like arachnids. We have got all that range, any organism, including mammals, including man. Man can be a bad pest to some of the animals that we have. So that is the classification of pests. So some of the, I just want to show some of the, I have some of the mainly insect pests. Here we have this one, African bollworm. If you go to America, they call it American bollworm. I don't know whether they call it Asian bollworm but it originated from South America. And this one is mainly on, we feeds on different types of crops. It's like a generalist. You'll find it even in tomatoes. You'll find it in, but mainly on tubers. It will bore into the tuber, and you can see its moth, how its moth look like. We have got aphids. Now, aphids are an interesting pest for to study. One, we have got about 400 types of aphids in Africa, and they feed on different crops. Let me say that most of the pests that we have will not feed on everything. They are host specific. The pest that will feed on the Solanaceae family will not feed on the maize family. So they are host specific. And so you find that aphids are very, very hard to manage. Why? We have got about 88 species of aphids that will live together, and when the population is big, they will just develop, we have what we call the cardinal aphid. It will develop wings, it will produce some hormones, and the rest will develop wings and they will just fly. The other thing that is very, very funny with the aphids is that they have both the gametes, the male and the female gametes. So their reproduction is quite easy, and therefore they can reproduce very, very fast. They will attack you when there is less water, when there is less water stress, and therefore it is important to note that for you to avoid attack by aphids, you make sure that your crops are watered. Something is yeah, we have this one. This is called a stigma. It's a sucker. It feeds on the leaves of different crops, and what happens is that it has got some defense mechanism. If you touch this insect, it is going to produce some very bad smell. That's why it is called the stink bug. Then you have the cabbage looper. Some of these are quite common in different areas. They are common in different parts of Africa. The looper is called, it's given its name because of the way it moves. It loops and it leaves a very big hole on your vegetable. And this one, the funny bit with the looper is that it can feed 24 hours, 7 days a week, 24 hours. As it feeds, it is excreting. As it feeds, it is excreting. It is that funny. Then we have the webworm. The webworm mainly is, you will find it mainly on maize and also on some vegetables. And what happens is that it leaves something like a web as it feeds. It's a way of attaching itself to the host crop. Then the cutworm the cutworm is known by many. It cuts your crop when it is very young. At the base of your crop, it will cut it. Then we have the diamond bark moth. The diamond bark moth is named after the bark of the moth. If you look at the back of that moth, it has a color of diamond. And for you to know that you have an attack of diamond bark moth, go to your vegetables, go to your cabbage, go to your kale. You find that it has eaten and has left something like a sieve on the leaf. That is the damage by diamond bark moth. Then we have the fruit fly. Mainly, it sucks the fruits, and it is very, very damaging. And you find it on citrus. You find it on even nowadays. It is even feeding on avocados. Very, very destructive. The fruit fly. Then we have the mealybugs. These ones are common among among the many fruit species that we have. And even some of the beans have the mealybugs. Then I can jump a bit. Then we have the snails. Snails have really become bad pests. They really feed on the vegetables. And one problem is that very few people have done research on pesticides for snails. So it's a real problem. Then we have the leaf miners. That's the damage by leaf miners. The spider mites. You can see how it draws, it feeds, draws like lines on the leaf of the crops. Then we have the thrips. The thrips are stuck, but they leave things like holes. And you can see on the right the damage by the thrips. Yeah, and then we have the white flies, also very, very damaging. So we have the fall armyworm. This is the pole. I'm mainly attacking the maize and the cereal family. Then we can go back here. Yeah, we have weeds also. This is called striga weed. And what happens is that when you plant your crop, be it maize, be it sorghum, millet, or such, it grows very fast and has it establishes itself very fast. And therefore, what happens is it also attaches itself to your crop, such that your crop it is choked, and it sucks all the nutrients allowed and leaves your crop with no nutrients. That is the striga weed. Then we have also diseases, like we have the root knot nematode. Nematodes are a real problem. We shall look at them later. Then we have another disease, the anthracnose. This one is, you can see the damage that is caused by the anthracnose. This is bacterial wilt. Bacterial wilt. The leaves start withering you'll just find the leaves withering. Then we have black rot. Black rot is mainly in the Brassica family. And what happens is that the leaves start to dry on the edges, along the edges, as when they are drying, it has already attacked up to the stem. And this is the damage by black rot. Then we have the blight. This is early blight. Then we have fusarium wilt. Fusarium wilt will attack mainly when there is water stress. Like around this period when it was very dry, many farmers have cried that they have fusarium wilt because it will attack when there is water stress and also when there is calcium deficiency. Then we have a late blight. It will attack the fruits and also attack the leaves. Powdery mildew is very, very common. Yeah, those are the examples of the pests that I was able to collect, but there have been many, many more. So you can see that some of them are disease-causing organisms. Others we have predators. I have not been able to put the animals like monkeys, the animals like even birds. So we have those predators also destroying our crops. Any question?
Yes, if you have any questions, please post on the chat and I'm going to raise your question. For now, we have a question from Mr. Francis. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mihindo. Thank you, Ratemo, and the entire team. I think this is very commendable. Thank you for diving deep into the worms and into the diseases. Of course, there are many questions, but I will just ask those that I have a direct interest in.
Yes.
What would I do when I have black rot and blight in tomatoes? Because I have these actually at home, and I think in some of them I've seen black rot. Of course, from my knowledge, I have uprooted and I have again put them into my composting. So I want advice. Am I doing the right thing? Should people do that? Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. I think we are going to answer that as we move along. Eh?
Okay.
Yes. Just let us continue. Then we will answer some those questions that as we move along.
Yes, there are some questions on the chat. Maybe I'll read them out for you to just have them in
Yes.
mind. Either you
Yes.
answer now or after your presentation.
Yes.
So we have a question from Mr. Patrick. He was asking about how can we manage white flies. You can
white
just have,
flies.
yes. And
Yes.
then in a question from Mercy. What are some of the pesticidal plants? Yeah? I guess
Pesticide.
plants, yes, plants that are pesticides on their own, if I'm not
Yes.
wrong. Yeah? Then the
Yes.
question from Elsie on watch from Mission Africa, she's asking, what is the difference between powdery mildew and downy mildew? I repeat, what is the difference between powdery mildew and downy mildew? You can either respond now, or if you have a presentation with the answers, and just leave it. Thank you.
Oh, okay. I think what we need to, what I need to do is, most of these questions I'm going to answer them as I move along. And so I think participants should just wait, and as we continue, most of the questions will be answered. And for the person who has asked about powdery mildew and powdery mildew and downy mildew, they are both fungal diseases. And powdery, you realize them about on their appearance. And powdery mildew, as it is called, it looks like powder, while you'll find downy mildew as spots, like yellowish spots on the leaves of your crops. But they are both fungal, and their management is also different. I think about management, I'm going to talk about it later, but that is how you differentiate between downy mildew and powdery mildew.
Can I add something, Dr.?
Yes, please.
On the same, yeah. Well, with the powdery mildew,
yes,
the disease oftenly cause death. Doesn't cause death of the plant.
Yes,
it reduces the value.
Yes,
of the plant. But downy mildew will always kill the plant. So that's another major difference.
Yeah, and also downy mildew will come when the conditions are very humid and wet.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, yeah, that's the other difference. Okay, so can we continue?
Yes.
Yeah, so we have said that we have given the disadvantages of the use of synthetic pesticides, and it is very, very important to note that now farmers are left at crossroads. They are told that these pesticides are very dangerous, and then what options do we have? So we are now going to introduce what we call integrated pest management. And I know this is not a new topic to us. We have been discussing about it, but just for for those people who are listening the first time, what is integrated pest management or IPM? We are saying that it is an ecosystem approach to crop production and protection that combines different management strategies and practices to grow healthy crops and minimize the use of pesticides. That is the easiest or the simplest definition of integrated pest management or ecological pest management. So we are not using one single approach. We are using different approaches. And here, what we are saying is that we combine them and we use them as a management strategy. Another definition is an ecosystem-based approach that tries to use different methods to reduce the pest population to below economic injury levels. So we are saying that we are not eliminating the pest. Remember, we said that every organism in the world is important. So we are saying that we want to reduce their population to levels that will not make you use do some economic calculations. So that is what we are saying. And again, we are saying that we are not using one particular method. We are combining different methods to keep the pest population to levels that will not disturb you. So that is the simplest definition. Other people say that the integrated pest management is a combination of common sense methods. So that is another definition. Common sense methods because you are using manipulative methods to on the pests. So you're trying to manipulate their population. You are trying to move around to see what you can do so that your plants are not attacked by pests. And as I said, many farmers now, their attitude is set. They have a notion that unless I spray my crops, they cannot grow. Maybe there are conditions that are making the pest to come to your crops. And if you remove those conditions, then the pest will not come. So they don't look at the conditions that are favorable to the pest, but all they know is that for you to kill a caterpillar, you must use this chemical. So they will have it in their farms, and they always spray, whether the crops have the pests or not, they will spray them. So it is important to note that when we are talking to our farmers, and even when we are training them, let us show them how to prevent our crops from being attacked by pests, rather than how to solve the problems caused by pests. It is very, very important. And that is why we are saying under IPM, we are going to use different methods to manipulate the pest population to levels, to below levels causing economic injury. And the other thing that the farmers should know, whether you use the chemicals and you have not improved the conditions of your farm, pests will always attack you. But the moment you remove the conditions, then the favorable conditions, you'll have no problems with the pests. Now, I hope that one is clear. So we are not using one single method. We are combining different management strategies. I'm talking about management I'm not talking about control, because when we talk about control, we are talking about eliminating these organisms completely. But as I said, they are still important. They are still very, very important. And let us ask ourselves, what should I know when I have an attack by a particular pest? There is one question that we should always tell the farmers to ask themselves. When you find a pest in your farm, ask yourself, what have I done? Or what have I not done in this farm that is encouraging these pests to come to me and not go to the neighbor? What have I done, or what have I not done in this farm that is encouraging the pest to come to my farm and not go to the neighbor? The other thing that you should know is that you should be a master of your farm. Any little change that happens on your farm is very, very important. Very, very important. And therefore, you need to know your farm like the back of your hand. You need to know how either the positive or the negative development of your crops. You need to know the changes in the soil conditions of your crops and of your soil conditions. So it is important that you know your farm. Let us look at some of the essentials of an IPM program. One of them is we need to do what we call monitoring, frequent monitoring. And this includes regular site inspection and trapping to determine the types and infestation levels of pests at each site. When you do monitoring, you find that today you had 5 aphids. Tomorrow you have 3 aphids here, you have 5 aphids here. You'll see where you have more infestation, where you have less infestation. Monitoring is among the key and essential principles of an IPM program. So you'll know, one, you have aphids, you have got caterpillars, you have got this other pest. So that when you are now coming down, then you do recording. So when you record, it is going to establish the threads and patterns in pest outbreaks. So you'll find that you have got this pest. Tomorrow you have more of this other pest because yesterday you recorded. One of the things that farmers don't do is record keeping. It is important that we encourage our farmers to keep records, especially on the pests and other happenings in the farm. We at the monitoring and record keeping state, we call it, you do a daily, what we call agroecosystems analysis. An agroecosystems analysis is a system where you look at your farm and ask yourself, what is happening? What is happening today? The first thing you look at is the weather. You look at you record that it is sunny. Then you look at the moisture of your soil. You say the soils are dry. You look at the leaves of your plant. You see that the leaves are withering a bit, showing that they have got some water stress. Then tomorrow you do the same. And then you can relate, after some time, you can relate the specific pest to specific happenings that has occurred in your farm. That is what we call an agro-ecosystems analysis, a daily analysis of all the happenings in your farm. So we are saying you record any happening, any pest population, including the distribution, and you can even try to say that I recommend that this is the intervention at this stage. For instance, if I go to my farm and I find that there are two aphids, I just recommend crushing. I recommend that I crush the aphids. Tomorrow I find 10. So I recommend that I remove some of the leaves that are attacked, moving like that towards now the more critical actions that should be taken. The other level is now setting what we call action threshold levels or action levels. This is where you say that now the population of your pests keep on rising. The population of your pests keep on rising. I have tried to use water, the populations keep on rising. So you decide that if I find 20 caterpillars, then I have to take this and this action. So that is now where you just put the action that you are going to take. And that is what we call the economic threshold, where now you cannot let everything go. Then that is now the action threshold level. You say that at this point, I have to take action on my crops or on my field. And some of the actions that you start with should be preventive. The preventive measures should be incorporated into the existing structures and designs for new structures. For instance, before you set your IPM program, before you start your crop cycle, there are some preventive measures that you are supposed to take. Even as you go along, you start now saying, okay, my threshold level is 6 caterpillars. I have to put some baits. I have to put some pheromone lures. So it is important that now you start using the preventive measure. The other important essential of IPM program is evaluation. A regular evaluation program is essential to determine the success of the pest management strategy. Don't do strategies and leave it at that. Look at where you have come from and see where you are going. That is what we call the evaluation, so that you understand if you can change your strategy or you will move on with the same strategy. Those are the 5 very essential principles or very practices that are very, very important in an IPM program. Now, we have said that an IPM program has to start by asking ourselves, what have I done? What have I not done that is encouraging the pests to come to my farm? You start by looking at all the normal agronomic practices, because now we want to enter into what we call the IPM methods. And you look around and look at all the agronomic practices that you do. Those are not meant for pest management, but they help in managing of pests. So look at them Look at what you have done. Look at what you have not done. That is encouraging the pests to come to your farm. So those are the ones that we call the cultural practices. They are the normal agronomic practices in the field, which are not meant for pest management, but end up helping in reducing their population. Something like timely planting. Timely planting will help because when you plant timely, and then like now, the rains in Kenya have come, those people who had planted just before the rains, not like me, I'm just planting. I don't know whether I will succeed. I'm planting from today, and it has already rained. So I have missed the first rains. So when I want to say that most of the insect pests will lay their eggs during the dry season, but the eggs will hatch during the immediately the rains come. They will hatch. So by the time the caterpillars are able to can cut or can attack your crops, they will have grown and they will be they will be big enough to be attacked by the caterpillars. Timely planting is very, very important. And also the importance of it is also using the first rains that come. Then we have things like soil cultivation, making sure that your soils are well cultivated so that you can expose some of the pests to their natural enemies, or you can also expose some of the pests to their natural enemies, and also some of them, like the weeds, can die because weeds are also pests. It's very, very important. Then weeding, very, very important. Weeds, one, if you don't weed your field, the weeds will compete for nutrients with your crops, and therefore you will have weak crops that are prone to pests. The other thing is that some of the pests act as secondary hosts to pests, so they will stay on the weeds, and when you plant your crop, now they will attack immediately. So it is important that we do some weeds. Like we have the blackjack. The blackjack is a secondary host to some aphids. So the blackjack will stay on the aphids. The bean aphids, they will stay on the aphid, on the blackjack. And when you plant your beans, they will immediately jump onto the beans and start attacking. Then some weeds are also there is what we call the cassava rot scale that and we have some weeds that will host that cassava rot scale, and they'll just after you have planted your cassava, they'll jump on the cassava and start attacking. Then the other one is watering. We have watering. I've said that some of the pests will attack because there is water stress, especially the aphids. The aphids will attack because there is water stress. The other one is soil fertility management. This is key, because if you don't have a good soil, if you don't have a healthy soil, if you don't have a fertile soil, you'll get weak crops. And what has happened is that because of overuse of fertilizers, the health of the soil has deteriorated. The fertility of the soil has also deteriorated. Plants really like using natural systems. So natural soil fertility is very, very important. So let us encourage our farmers to use natural methods of soil fertility, because the natural systems states that you feed the soil feeds the crop, and then the crop feeds you. But if you feed the crop, you jump the soil, nature will still litter on you, because it has to be a natural system. So we are saying that this is why we are talking about making farmers understand. And that is why the trainers who are training yesterday talked a lot about how to develop natural fertility, how to develop natural soil health. There are some organisms that also live, some pests that will live in the soil, especially the pathogens that will cause diseases. It is important that we make sure that our soils are healthy. And how do we make sure that our soils are healthy? One, when I listened to what my fellow trainers talked about, one of the methods is making sure that farmers understand their soils and the different crops that can grow in different soils. Then there is also the issue of making sure that the soils have enough nutrients and making sure that the farmers do soil testing. Soil testing is very, very important for the farmers to understand the status of their soils. And for us who are practicing agroecology, I have been told by many farmers that because I'm using a lot of compost, because I'm using a lot of manure, I have got no problem. And even the professionals are telling people that once you use manure, there is no problem. But how do you know that whether you have enough or you have more than you require? So let us encourage our farmers to do soil testing, both for fertility and also for pathogenic tests. Let them know whether if their soils have got nematodes. If they have nematodes, then they are going to take the right measures so that they get rid of them. So the issue of soil testing is very, very important. So then we have crop rotation. We know that different pests attack different crops, and therefore, if you do the same crop every season, it's like you are feeding the pest every season. It is important that we show our farmers how to do a good crop rotations, and let them not rotate crops from the same family. Let them not rotate the crops from the same family. And I think somebody is going to touch on a lot on crop rotation, but it is very, very important. Then the use of clean planting materials, whether they are seeds, whether they are vegetative materials, use clean planting materials. And especially the seeds, farmers should be trained how to produce clean seeds. And I think we have a lesson on seed production, and I think that is going to be covered. In a nutshell, what we are saying is that under cultural practices, these are the normal agronomic practices that we do. We don't do crop rotation so that we prevent our crops from pests, but it ends up helping us because even when we do crop rotation, we reduce competition because different crops have different feeding habits. We reduce competition for nutrients. It is very, very important. Any question on cultural practices or any up to there?
Yes, if you have any questions on cultural methods or IPM, please post in your chat. For those who are here on Zoom, if you have, just raise your hand and we are going to give you a chance. Thank you.
Now, is it that it is understood or they are two things?
The question, but not of cultural method, but on
Yes.
is from Benedicta. My
Yes.
onions are affected by black rot. How will I control them?
By black
Rot.
rot.
Yeah, rot. Yeah.
Okay.
If I can also add on that one, is that okay, Ratemo?
Yes, please proceed.
Dr. Mihindo, you had mentioned that you'll cover my question as we go along, and
Yes.
I heard you speak about removing the affected leaves.
Yes.
Just like the previous question is kind of focusing. So my question is, if I remove these affected leaves, where do I, discard them? Is it safe to put them into my compost material,
Yes.
or
Yes.
am I harboring more aphids to come just later in the
Yeah.
future? Thanks.
Yes, for your question, I still have your question, Francis, but something I forgot to mention is that the idea of composting is one method of making sure that some of the eggs of some pests die. However, there are some diseases that like now, if you put material that has black rot on your compost, it is not going to die. So, or there is another one called head smart. Head smart. You'll be spreading the pest or the disease to the rest of the field. So some of the ideas that we are going to give will, like for this one, for head smart, for black rot, you have to make sure that you isolate the affected material, and if you are able to burn, that will be the best option. But putting it on compost, you'll be spreading the material. So, but for the management, I think we are still coming to it.
Thank you. There are some questions I've posted on the chat from Facebook. We have from Hosea asking, how do we manage termites, especially in drylands?
Yeah, termites, especially in drylands. Okay. Yeah. The reason why I'm not answering these questions is because we are still going on with the IPM methods, but I'm noting them. It is not that I'm ignoring them. I've noted termites in drylands. All right. Okay.
There's another question from Petit. Does crop rotation apply when one is using pumice, the agricultural volcanic rock?
Does crop rotation apply when one is using?
Pumice, the agricultural volcanic rock.
Yes, I know. I know pumice, and one I know that pumice has very little nutrient levels. So for management of pests, whether you are using pumice, whether you are using whatever type of soil, it is very, very important.
Maybe you can continue, and then I'll have another session for questions after.
So now we have done one, cultural methods. So the second one, we are talking about behavioral methods. Now, this involves the deliberate change of behavior of pests by introducing favorable or unfavorable conditions. So we said that when you find that you have pests, you ask yourself what you have done or what you have not done. And you can change the behavior of a pest. One, you can attract the pest to a particular crop, and then what we call non-targeted crop, and then they will leave your target crop. And that is what we call the use of attractants. I have given an example. In a maize field, weaver birds really like really like sunflower. Their preferred food is sunflower. But if you are in the absence of sunflower, they will feed on maize. So if you have planted maize and you plant some sunflower in between the maize, the weaverbites will go to the sunflower and they will leave your maize. So we are talking about the use of attractants to manage pests. So you attract them towards one crop, and in the process they leave your target crop. That's the use of attractants. Then there is now chasing away. Mainly we chase them away by use of crops that produce a smell, that produce bad smell, that is that is going to repel the pests. And those who are in the organic fraternity, we know of onions. They repel quite a number of caterpillars. They repel some aphids. Then we have garlic. Garlic is also a type of onion. And then we have dania. That is coriander. For those who don't know dania, dania is coriander. Then we have plants like Mexican marigold, Tegetes minuta, that has very repelling smell. And if you look at the Tegetes Mexican marigold, very few pests will feed on it because it produces bad smell. Then we have many more. And let me say, as I'll talk down there, most of these repellents are also food for us. Then we also have some herbs that will repel pests. So that is what we call behavioral method. Or sometimes you can even put some barriers. You can put some walls. So when the pest comes, instead of penetrating your farm, it will just go back. So it changes its behavior. So that is also a behavioral method. So it is important that we know these pest repellents. And one caution is that most of us have been training that these repellents are pesticides. Sorry, a pesticide is something that kills. Mexican marigold is not a pesticide when you are using it on insects. It's a repellent. But then when you are using it on things like nematodes, then it becomes a pesticide. So you must know what pest you are using these repellents on. Most of them will not kill. I have heard many people saying that onions will kill. They will not. They are going to chase away the pesticides, the pests rather. So that is behavioral method, which is very, very important. Up to now, we are still manipulating the pest population to keep them below economic injury levels. Now, the next one is what we call biological method. Biological method. Biological method involves allowing the use of living organisms to manage pests, what we call natural enemies. We have now tried to use before we go to biological methods, to biological methods, we have another one called the physical method. This is where you use force. If you find two caterpillars, you don't have to use a whole liter of a pesticide to kill two caterpillars. The best option is to crush them, and that is it. So the physical method, the use of traps is also very important, and so it is other physical method. Now, under behavioral method, I want to add something else. the use of what we call traps, what we call pheromone traps, use of pheromone traps. This one is very, very important because we are not using chemicals. We are using pheromones that are in the pest that we want to manage. For instance, we want to manage, somebody asked about white flies. We have got white fly traps. White flies are attracted to white, to yellow or the blue color, to yellow or the blue color. So we have got white fly traps that are in color. They are sticky traps. So if you put them on your farm, all the white flies will come to those traps, to those yellow sticky traps, and they will be trapped and they will not attack your crop. So the use of pheromone traps is very, very important. The other thing that now we are doing, even as IPM, is that we are trying to establish the female hormones of some of the organisms. Let's say, for example, the fruit fly. We get the female hormone, the female pheromone of the female fruit fly. Put it in a medium like a sponge, and then we hang it on in a container with either water or some other adapting. And then when the male fruit fly is moving around, it will feel that there is a female and it wants to mate with that female. So it will go to the container, and in the process it will get trapped and it dies. That is what we are trying to use to manipulate the male population. So what has that done? When we remove the male population from the field, the females are not going to reproduce. So we will have wiped out a whole generation of fruit flies without using a single chemical. So what we are saying is that we need to use pheromones or lures so that we lure the pest towards one side, and they leave they get destroyed and they leave our crops. That is behavioral method. So let me go to the biological methods. And I've said that in this case, we try to use living organisms to manage the pests or to manipulate the pest population. So these are living organisms that are working on others. And in this category, we have got two types of living organisms. One, they are organisms that will feed on the pest directly. That's what we call, they will predate on the pest. And in that case, we call them predators. And they feed on different stages of the pest. There are those that will feed on the caterpillar. There are those that will feed on the eggs of the pest, and there are those also that will feed on the adult or the mouth of the pest. So those ones are the ones that we call predators. They will predate. Examples of predators I'll give down there. Then there are organisms that during the larval stages feed on pests. They feed on pests. Those are called external parasites, or they will feed on pests, but they also cause unfavorable conditions. And then there are those that will not feed on the pest, but they will cause pests not to move. So they will cause conditions. Like we have some wasps that will come and stay on the pest on a caterpillar, and the caterpillar is not able to move, those ones we also call them, they are parasitoids, and they cause the caterpillar to be immobile so that it doesn't feed. That is another way. The other one, they will, some of them will oviposit, they will lay their eggs in or on the pest. And when the eggs hatch, the young ones will feed on the pest and they will die. So we have got all those types of organisms. Then we have the pathogens, the organisms that cause diseases on pests. They include fungi, bacteria, viruses. So pests have their pests also. So they are pests, but they also have their pests. These ones, they can, there are some companies that are manufacturing some of these organisms. We have like Bacillus thuringiensis, there are companies that are selling it. Then we have the Trichoderma and others that are now commercially being distributed, being manufactured and being distributed by companies in Kenya and in Eastern Africa. So I'm saying that we have got three categories of these organisms. We have organisms that will feed on the pests. Those are called predators. We have got pathogens that will cause diseases on the pest. And we have organisms that will either feed, at some stage, will feed on the pest and also cause unfavorable conditions that like immobility. So those are the different categories. So it is important to note that these organisms are very, very important in nature. But let me first look at some of the examples. These are predators. The redbird, everybody knows the redbird. It is it's an insect of Africa. But what I want to say about the redbird is the redbird is helpful both at the adult and the larva stage. You can see this larva stage is feeding on some aphids. It will feed on the aphids. It will feed on the eggs of some pests, the redbird. Then we have this one, the hoverfly. You can see that is the hoverfly feeding on some mites. Then we have this one, the assassin bug. It's also a predator. Yeah, this one is a chameleon. Yeah, praying mantis. Praying mantis is also a predator. The love beetle, a predator. We have we have got some about 300 types of predatory wasps. Wasps are really, really important in nature. They feed on some eggs of insects. They will feed directly on some eggs of on some insects. Very, very important. Then we have predatory drips. Remember, we said there we have drips that are pests, but now we have the predatory drips that counter the drip menace. Then we have predatory mites. Then we also have parasitoids. If you look at the picture on the right, you can see that wasp is ovipositing its egg on the caterpillar. And what happens? It is ovipositing on the segments of the caterpillar. So the caterpillar is not able to move, and in the process, it will die. And when the young one of this wasp hatches, then it will feed on this caterpillar. That is the action. Then you can see this one is also doing some oviposition. Then we have the trichnid fly, which is also an ovipositor. Then let us ask ourselves, or even without without knowing what these natural enemies are. We know that they exist in nature. We are saying reduced use of chemicals that are non-selective and will kill both the pest and their natural enemies. This one has led to reduced, the use of chemicals has led to reduced number of natural enemies that we have. So one of the things that we can do is, in order to restore the natural enemies, or to preserve the ones that we have, is to reduce the use of chemicals, because we know most of these chemicals are non-selective. They will kill both the pests and they'll also kill the natural enemies. Then we have to, it is important that we grow their food. Most of them will feed on nectar and pollen, and therefore it is good to grow hedges of flowers and also leave live fences so that they act as hiding places or their habitat, natural habitats for so that they can thrive without any problems. It is important to know that these organisms exist, and their importance is as important as any other organism that we have. Mulching and having live fences to provide habitat for ground for natural enemies is also very, very important. Let us leave live fences, and so that they hide. And most of them, as you can you'll see, is they are very, very shy. They don't want to be seen. So let's leave some live fences. Yeah. Any question after that?
Yes, thank you, Daktari. We have a lot of questions. I'll propose you finish the presentation, and then we have a session for Q&A. Yeah?
Yeah, I think,
we have
to move very fast now.
Then we have like 15 minutes of question and answers supported by the master trainer online.
Yes, please.
So continue.
Yeah, now we have reached the biological control or management method, where we are using the living organisms. Now, they have got, the other one is what we call the chemical method. I'll call it the chemical method because here we are using pesticides. And this now should be used as the last resort. When all the other methods have failed, we use what we call the chemical method. There are people who don't want to hear the word chemical. And I find it absurd, because if you are talking about a pesticide, it's a chemical that kills. So under our system, we try as much as possible to use what we call botanical pesticides. Botanical pesticides, they are easily available in the environment, and most of them have multiple uses, such as medicines. I'll explain that later. And some of them have been commercialized. One good thing is that they do not leave residues on crop produce and the environment. That's contributing to environmental conservation. Then the interaction between botanical pesticides and the pest is naturally biochemical. Therefore, pests are unlikely to develop resistance. What I'm saying is that the biopesticides, the interaction between them is biochemical. It is not chemical. It is not, there is no change of the system. So the system resistant development is minimal. I think I need to move a bit fast. Yeah, botanical pesticides exhibit varied modes of action on the target pest, such as they exhibit different types modes of action. one, repairing, toxicity, they are toxic, therefore they will kill. Growth regulation, some of the botanical pesticides will inhibit the growth of some pests, and structural modification, making them suitable alternatives to crop pest management. They interfere with the insect behavior, physiological activities, biochemical processes, morphology, and metabolic pathways. I think I'll not explain that because of time. Increasing interest in natural pest products in medicine, agriculture, and food industry has spurred research in the composition of compounds in various plant families. This is very, very important because a lot of researchers now are doing a lot of research on these biopesticides. And that is why we said some of them have already been commercialized. You can get those pesticides on the shelves and you buy them. So the common bioactive compounds in botanical pesticides are majorly secondary metabolites, such as steroids, alkaloids, tannins. What I'm saying is that not only research on the mode of action has been done, but also a lot of them now, it is known that this is the alkaloid that works on this pest. So a lot of research has been done. Then we like for neem, we know that the active ingredient is Azadirachta indica, and that one that is the mode of action. We binding the acetylchloride receptors, thereby disrupting the nervous system. It disrupts the nervous system, and a lot of biological pesticides will disrupt the nervous system. It also acts as a repellent. Then garlic, it delays and inhibits spore germination. That is in weeds. Then inhibit protein and DNA synthesis. You see, they have got different modes of action. Then we have aloe. Aloe is what happens is that it will inhibit cellular activities, impairs permeability of plasma membrane, then it denatures proteins. Then at this point, I would like to answer the question of somebody who said, how do I control termites? Then if you use aloe, any type of aloe, especially in the dry areas, you make a concoction of aloe and put it in the anthill. We have used it for control or management of termites. And of course, the first thing you do, you can remove the queen. And once you remove the queen, which was what I was doing yesterday in my farm, I was digging and removing the queen. But you can also use aloe. Take like 10 leaves of aloe, crush them, put 5 liters of water, then put 20 ml of ethanol. 20 ml of ethanol. That is ethanol. Let it start for 12 hours. Then you go and put it on the anthill, and you will not have problems with the termites. Then we have Tagetes minuta. Tagetes minuta will inhibit the egg hatching, larva toxicity, structural modification, and also it will kill. So we are saying that different botanical pesticides have different modes of action. Then the mechanism of action of botanical pesticides, these compounds have varied modes of action against different pests, like the fungi, bacteria, nematodes, and plant host cells. The modes of action include repairing. I think I repeated myself in that. Then, for instance, pesticides from pyrethrum target the nerve cells. They are those that will target the nerve cells, and even when we use the Tephrosia bojeri, it also targets the nerve cells and it also targets coordination of the body, that is the nerve cell system, and then so that now the pest will not think, it will not move, and eventually it dies. So most of these, while synthetic pesticides are more host specific, and the others will target, the botanical pesticides will target different types of pests, and therefore they are good. Now I have tried to show that different modes of action. I think we shall share this demo with the team, so that we're because I don't have time to go look at the active ingredients and what it does to the pest, which is very, very important for people to understand. But what I'm saying is that a lot of science has been done. A lot of science has evolved because of these botanical pesticides. If you look at this is the Tephlosia gogeri. This is the chemical composition of rotenone. It contains rotenone, but rotenone can also be gotten from dairies, can also be gotten from Tephlosia gogeri. When it comes to Tephlosia gogeri, we have got different types of Tephlosia. Please make sure it is the species gogeri. Then we have got nicotine. Nicotine has been used for many years as a pesticide. In fact, at one time it was considered in the dirty dozen. The dirty dozen means the 12 most dangerous chemicals in the world. I don't know whether it has been removed now, but it is, I would guess that it is still there. It is very, very dangerous, and it is gotten from tobacco. And the mode of action, it acts on the nerves of the organism. So it is a good pesticide, only that it is also dangerous to the humans. Remember, I said that it is considered in the dirty dozen category, the 12 most dangerous chemicals in the world. Then we have neem. Neem has the active ingredient, which is as a directin. It's called as a director indica, and the as a directin is the mode of action. It acts as a repellent, and also acts on as a toxin to crops. That is the neem. Then I have put a whole list of we have a whole list of products that are now manufactured especially in Kenya, and they are on the shelves. We have by different companies. I have tried to put this list. I don't want to go through the list for the interest of time, and I think people will get this presentation later. So we have all this. Then for us, what must we do? We have got different botanical pesticides in our locality. And what we need to do is let us try them with the farmers. But at some point, let us also try to include researchers in the process. They could not be very complicated researchers. Let us try to make sure that what we are training to the farmers is working. And the other thing is that let us try to, as much as possible, not to mix the compounds, because once you mix different crops, you may not know what is working, and you don't even know the products that you are making. And if you mix them, let us try to involve researchers. Let us try to remove the scientists. And because we have always been accused of not having scientists pick back up in our system, in the organic agriculture system. So let us try as much as possible to involve research in whatever we are doing. And I have just explained how to make lime sulfur brew there, and I think when we get this notes, I think you'll see how to make it. I want to edit at that so that we can have a question and answer session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. For sure, we have a lot of conversations on chat. People have questions, and these questions are not only to Dr. Mihindo, but to our experts online. So
Yes.
there's a question from Annie. How do I control ants in my seedbed from eating fleshy fruit seeds? How do I control ants in my seedbed from eating fleshy fruit seeds? Maybe Derito, I know you have seedbeds. Maybe an attempt is or Sylvia, whoever who is online. How do you control ants?
Okay, let me share real quick. Thank you so much, Ratemo. I actually learned something very simple from one of the BioVision Africa Trust field officers, and it actually seems to work. So you see, with when the ants are coming to the seedbed, it means they are hungry and they're looking for something to eat. And something that you can do is to give them the food. You know, especially when it's dry, many people will actually confirm that termites and ants are normally so bad because when you plant nursery or whatever, they come and they bite the young crops. So what you do when you're preparing your nursery, you make something like a fertility bed, whereby you add compost material down there, and then now you cover with topsoil. So you'll find that these like burrowing insects, like ants that are looking for food and water, will actually focus on the compost at the bottom and not eat the crops at the top. I've done that severally. Even there's a place on my farm where the ants always used to eat the young crops, that young seedlings. But when I put compost at the bottom, I actually found that I gave them food to eat and they didn't bother me at the top. It's a very simple and almost a traditional method, but for me, it has worked effectively, and you can also try it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sylvia. If you don't mind, you can also answer, how do you control fruit flies on pumpkins using organic methods?
Wonderful. So the pest that actually would affect the pumpkins is a melon fly. I'm not sure it will be a fruit fly, but Dr. Mihindo can confirm. But a melon fly, is normally managed by using a pheromone trap, which is available. You can talk to Dr. Mihindo and he'll be able to support. But then a pheromone trap is basically a trap that is able to, it has a scent that will attract sometimes male or female or both male and female of those different insects. And then once you're able to trap them, then they're not going to increase damage. I don't know, I jumped in late. I don't know if Dr. Mihindo had already talked about pheromone trap and how they work. But then, okay. If he did, maybe he can take it up. But then pheromone work very well for melons. And they also work, the melon fly trap pheromone will work for melons. It's going to work for pumpkins. Basically, in the cucurbit family, the melons, the pumpkins, cucumber, that pheromone trap works effectively. You don't have to spray anything and you can have safe organic produce. Maybe Dr. Mihindo, if you want to make a comment on that.
I think I had talked about it, that we have the yellow traps. Most of the the white flies and even the melon flies are attracted to either white or to either yellow or blue color. And so those traps act very well, and you'll have no problems with them if you hang them on in your field. Yeah.
Thank you. There's another question from Benedicta. After 2 days of mulching, my seedbed is affected by termites. What should I do?
Ratemo, I think the response I gave earlier is still applicable. What do you think? I think it's still
Yes.
applicable. The termites are looking for food, they're looking for water, and I understand, and also just to make sure that the mulching material is dry. Sometimes farmers, when they use mulch, it's wet, which is still attractive for the ants to come and get water and food. So make sure your mulching material is completely dry. Do a fertility bed whereby you put composting material below the topsoil, cover with topsoil. You should be good to go. It will work.
Thank you. There's a follow-up question from Mercy.
Okay, go ahead.
Apart from the traps, which other organic pesticides can be used on melon flies?
I don't know. I think Dr. Mihindo can comment also, but what you're looking for is basically, like a very strong pesticide that is going to kill the insect on contact, which could be found with synthetic pesticides. But in terms of organic pesticides, they normally work a little slower. They may not be that strong. But Dr. Mihindo, you can comment on that also. But for me, I've always found that the safest way is actually just to use the sticky traps or the pheromone traps, as has been advised.
I would say that if you listen to what I said, you have to start an IPM program early before you even start planting. So if you start by hanging the yellow traps, you'll have no problems with the white flies, and that is basically what we have used. And I don't have a remedy for like a pesticide against white flies. But as Sylvia says, we have been using the yellow and the blue trap, the attractants.
Thank you, Daktari. There's another follow-up question. How pheromones should be placed in a 1 acre land? From Collins Chibole.
I think he should be more specific. Which pheromones, which crops is he planting? Planting because different pests attack different crops. So, and also the type of pheromone matters. Okay.
What we can also do, if you don't mind, since your organization also sells the traps, you can also share your number for the people who are listening to reach out and learn more about how to use the pheromone trap. Is that okay?
Yes. Our number is 0706 966 980. And we are also now in the process of organizing some integrated pest management trainings, where we shall be talking about some of these. If you talk about pheromone traps, we can train you for a whole day. And I think we shall be circulating that information to different organizations so that we can all participate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There are other questions in the chat about the traps expiry. I believe I have posted Dr. Mihindo's number. Feel free to reach out for more details on that. But we have another question from, let me just go through, about crop rotation. I think that's one you handled. Then we have this one, I don't know if you're able to answer, from Patrick, about products from real IPM. Are they really organic? And can we recommend our farmers to use those products? If you cannot answer, it's okay, but if you can, please go ahead.
I would say that I don't use products from real IPM because for sure I don't know if they are organic or not. Real IPM is a private company, but what they say is that they are they are partially organic. If you are not careful with the type of IPM you are using, you may end up using some of the chemicals just like any other person. And that is why we are calling ourselves Effective IPM Association, so that we want to use IPM that is effective. We don't want to say that we are not using chemicals and we are using chemicals. So I can't testify that they are organic or not.
Let me make a comment. Thanks, Dr. Mihindo. It's true that like you find some organizations actually that are practicing IPM, you know, what normally happens is the last intervention would be synthetic chemicals, but then they actually have some products which are organic and they are from ICIPE, like the metarhiziums. So they have metarhizium 68, 69, and 70, no, 69, 72, and 78, which are organic and are produced at ICIPE. But then again, yeah, do your research and find out. But some of their products are organic for managing mealybugs, strips, spider mites.
Yes.
Yeah. So some of them are, the metarhiziums are, and the trichoderma. The trichoderma, which is a good soil amendment.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then,
like, yeah.
I would also like to add that we have some chemicals that are also allowed in organic agriculture. Those are that are copper-based and also sulfur-based. And that is why even in the concoctions that we make, like for us, we make what we call the lime sulfur brew, which is a combination of sulfur and lime, which is because sulfur is allowed in organic agriculture.
Thank you. There's a question from Hosea about the termites remedy. Can I use the same aloe plus ethanol mixture on mulch by spraying the liquid on mulch bedding? I think the innovation of aloe and ethanol.
I want to say that termites are a very, very difficult pest to manage, because you only manage the termite when you get the queen. Unless you get the queen, then you have done nothing. So the best thing is, even when you do the concoction, make sure that you get the cardinal hole where the liquid will reach the queen. Otherwise, the easiest method is to just dig and remove the queen. I have just said that yesterday I was digging my rod and I removed like 7 queens, and they are big. They are big, like 7 centimeters, very big. And this queen, even if you kill the small termites and you don't kill the queen, she will keep on laying eggs, and again the colony will still develop. So it is good to remove the queen and make sure that you kill her before now. So if you go and spray on your crops, you have not solved any problem unless you remove the queen.
Thank you. We have 2 questions from Facebook. The first one is from Wa Mami. When is the best time to put on the traps, mostly in mango trees? Is it when flowering or maybe some other time? And then there's a question to Dr. Mihindo in terms of those biopesticides. Are they registered by the government of Kenya? Thank you. That's from Paul Chilewa.
Okay. I'll start by saying maybe Sylvia will tackle the first one. Let me tackle the second one. The biopesticides that I have shared are all developed by different companies, and they are allowed in Kenya. They can be, you can buy them on the shelves. So they have gone through the government regulation, and they are okay. Some of the pesticides that we are using, it is very, very difficult to register botanical pesticide in Kenya, but we are trying to register. So we are using them locally among the farmers as we trade. And I think that should be the thread, because if something is working, then the farmer should be able to use it. as we try to register it. However, the pheromone traps are registered by the government, so the pheromone traps have no problem.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Okay, yeah, yes, I'm here. Let me comment real quick on the mangoes. I'm not a mango farmer, but I can give my experience from having used pheromone traps with other.
We have lost Sylvia.
The earlier the better. Pheromone. Immediately I plant my in the nursery. Have you lost me?
We are losing you, Sylvia.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you now. Please repeat. Hello, Sylvia. If not, Dr. Mihindo, maybe just respond.
Yeah. I think we have lost her. I think he has asked what is the appropriate time to raise.
Uh-oh. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, Sawa. Well, sorry, I'm sorry about that. So saying from my idea of pheromone traps, the earlier the better. I was giving a quick example about my tomatoes and see if you can relate it to mangoes. When I'm planting tomatoes in my nursery, I normally put the pheromone trap for Tuta absoluta just when they start germinating. And that normally helps me to be able to manage the population of Tuta absoluta very early. And I make sure that I change my pheromone trap every 4 to 6 weeks, because you'll find the viability, depending on the company or how it works, will not be able to be very effective after 6 weeks. So it also depends. You have to do a lot of observation. So you have to look at your sticker to see what is the population of the the pests. What's the population of the fruit flies. Of course, if the whole sticker is full of fruit flies, it means infestation is very high and you need to be able to add another trap. So I do that, and then before I transplant my tomatoes in the field, I actually put the pheromone trap in the field before I transplant my tomatoes, so that I can catch them before I actually transplant. And then again, I change the trap every 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the infestation and depending on how many they are. And also more than 6 weeks, again, the pheromone may not be effective. So for mangoes, I would recommend then just before flowering, you can start working with the pheromone trap and then observe very closely and change the traps depending on the infestation. I hope that's clear.
Thank you. I think that's clear. And in case anyone has more follow-up questions, I've posted Dr. Mihindo's number. They offer a variety of services as an organization. I think Dr. Mihindo, maybe you can just mention what kind of services can our listeners get from your organization. Thank you.
Yeah, before I mentioned that somebody asked about powdery mildew, and I would like to say that powdery mildew is the cause is mainly when the soil is dry, but the plant has humidity. So one of the things that you can do is when you are applying water, make sure that you use overhead sprinkling, and then make sure that there is good aeration in your field. I think you will avoid powdery mildew. It is not hard to avoid powdery mildew. It's not a difficult disease to control. And the most important thing that when the soil has low moisture and then there is high humidity, your plants will get powdery mildew. Two things: overhead sprinkling, and then making sure that there is good air circulation. Yes, our organization, Effective IPM Association, we do trainings. We do offer trainings on different areas. We offer trainings on integrated pest management. All those things that I have talked about, If you want to know about them, we do that. We do trainings on specific crops of choice. So we have got different agroecological topics that we cover, and we also do trainings on the issue of agroforestry. We have nurseries that are offering trainings on how to manage fruit trees, how to manage herbs, how to manage spices, all that. So that is the work that we do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daktari. I believe we have now concluded our day 3 in terms of IPM methods. Maybe you can stop sharing, it's fine. Now, in case you have not registered, please register on the link in the Facebook chat. We are going to share the notes from all the days of training. Tomorrow we have a session from 10 to 12 on seeds and propagation. One of our trainers, Esther and Deritu, they are online. Maybe you can just mention something to preempt people to join. Esther, do you mind just mentioning a bit? And Mr. Deritu, about tomorrow? Any of you who is online?
I would like to say that seed is the most important, one of the most important inputs when it comes to agricultural production. And when we're talking about seeds, about open pollinated or higher loom varieties or indigenous seeds, that's what we'll be talking about tomorrow. And so I'd like people to tune in so that we learn more about seeds, seed production, seed saving, and all that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, our listeners, for tuning in. See you tomorrow from 10 to 12 noon. For today, I want to, before I conclude, let me invite Francis, the project manager for this project that has brought us here. Maybe he can say a few remarks before we finish.
Thank you very much, Ratemo. I was actually already putting up the hand to say, I think this is a very commendable initiative that master trainers in Kenya have actually taken on. Ratemo, thank you very much for organizing this and making sure that we can listen in from wherever we are. And the master trainers for doing such a wonderful and commendable job of enriching farmers and partners using the technology. I think this is something that we can spread to other countries, and we get to have similar sessions like this from all the CIPs. So I just wanted to underscore the fact that you are doing a great job. Thank you, all the master trainers of Kenya, and thank you, Ratem and Pelum Kenya, for this wonderful initiative. So over to you, and bye-bye.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm using my desktop, so I
Ah.
can't show my picture, but you know me. I am using my desktop without a camera. Thanks.
No problem.
Yeah.
Esther, do you want to say something before we finish? What do people expect tomorrow from you?
Thank you so much, Ratemo. Sorry, my laptop hanged a bit, so I was unable to unmute. So tomorrow we are preparing to learn about seeds and how to save seeds. So be prepared, be our guest, and thank you so much for following our trainings.
Thank you. If you can put your video on, please put. We say goodbye to our listeners. So bye-bye, and thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.